I wondered where the spider was this morning, but she's making a new web. The webs have gone. She's making a new one. But I was doing some thinking today and some discussing, and I was thinking about the differences between the different flavours of orcishness in this place. And I was saying, like, it's a troll bridge and you've got two sides to it. And one side's full of head cases and one side is just full of orcs. And we all either are orcs or pretended to be orcs to get in, or we formed it through orcishness. But there's one bit, or at some point, or if it was always like that, or if it's just endemic to the situation, but you end up with a bit that's the humanity's gone out of it. There's no humanity there. It's just empty nothingness. And what was a troll community and what was a load of orcs under a bridge has been co-opted. And it's just what's interesting, because I was like thinking about, you know, what goes on in the shit shows over at Buttox's and stuff like that over on their side, and it's like, it's just people doing their shit, and there's just no, I don't know, the nothingness. And does that come from like the personal investment of people who say they're not personally invested and it ain't real life, dog, when actually there's a load of people who actually do have loads of other shit going on, and they all get together occasionally and do their shit. And there's more shit that I was thinking about as well, which is about how that got pulled apart and how that does affect the other side as well. How you've got one side in the nothing lands, in the sort of nothingness, where there's the humanity's been taken over by something else, and that humanity's not there. It's the aims are different. It's not. It started by like considering different approaches and how different people approach things, and there's an expansive way and there's a narrowing way and a very shutting downy sort of the flapping fanny way that I've mentioned before. And it's like how that has a knock-on effect on everything else, because for it to exist you've got to have other people building into it and giving it a landscape to exist on in the first place. I know it's all very cryptic what I'm talking about, but it's just what I've been thinking about, and just about the actual dynamics of stuff and how things have gone on around this place and how they continue to go on. And it's like, when you're there and shit's going down or whatever and you're seeing stuff, it's like a lot of the times with memeing and trolling and things like that, it's being able to actually go and say, oh, that's funny because of this being the truth and that's what makes that funny. But because you've got this vested interest sort of situation going over there, and you've also got this fantasy thing that you're supposed to all buy into to be part of it, it's like that reference point that they rub the joke off against in itself is fake, which is all good for up to a point. But when there is literally no humanity in there, there's nothing to refer back to. I liken it to when there's a clock that you've always got on the wall and it's there forever, and then one day the battery goes and you have to change it, you take the clock down and you're always looking at where that clock was for the time, and it's just not there. It's just a feeling of like, oh, like a stopper. And it's like that. It's like all this shit what's going off and everything like that. It's like there's a part of me that's always seeking for another human to see it and to be like, fucking hell, look at the state of that. You know what I mean? It's like, because there isn't that there. That's why they do what they do, and why it's so like excessive, and why it's got to the level that it has, and why that flapping fanny is such a flapping fanny, and it's beautiful in that sense. It's just left because it's being gardened, it's being put into a stage of plagio-climax and very manufactured and, what's the word, managed place for it to exist. So it's just interesting. And that's probably why it never gets anywhere as well. Anyway, yeah, just thinking about that, just difference in vibe and feeling of when you realise that there is literally no humanity in a place. And I think there was up to a point, and that made it pop off, and that made it all right, because it was that juxtaposition. Even though if it didn't marry up properly or anything, it was that made it funny. But now it's just like the closest you get to humanity is a little bit of tribalism of memes and people repeating the same thing on a call and response. But that in itself is in the fantasy world that you have to step in. It's just like the haunted house. You're probably going to call me crazy for talking on all this random shit, but it makes sense to me. Anyway, I just thought I'd... it's quite a misty day, so I wanted to see what the Twig House was like in the mist, but it's not doing anything. But what I've decided to do, on the advice of my friend, is I'm actually going to dig a mud hole in my garden, and I'm going to get some mud out, and I'm going to use mud to do the bottom sort of half of this twig house.